you have a question, please put that in the chat. The chat will be monitored and your question will get answered. This format, this is the second of the format that District Governor-elect Lisa and President-elect Pamela have tried. I think it's very interesting. Hopefully, you've had a chance to go to the Learning Center and take the courses they've recommended prior to this. With that, I turn this over to Lisa. And just so people know, if they see me drop out, I do have another Zoom I might have to go to, but I will be on this for a while. So Lisa and Pamela, take it away.
Before I do, Ralph, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us what your role is in this session?
Well, I did put it in my rename. I'm the chair of multi-district PETS. Well, now we're PELS, President-elect Learning Seminar. And this is my third year in this role. And next year, past president from CNY, Lindsay Martin, will be taking over as chair. So again, I pass it to Lisa and Pamela.
Thank you so much. So yes, I'm Lisa Norwood, District Governor-elect for District 7120, which is the Finger Lakes area of New York State. And my counterpart in Central New York is Pamela Grattan. Pamela, do you want to say hi? Okay, she's waving.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, my throat's a little sore.
Okay, perfect. Which is why she's asked me to do all the moderating of this session. So we are working together as a team, and we're very excited to be running these fireside chats. In past years, these have been done one day a week in February, leading up to the March in-person President-elect Learning Seminar in Syracuse. And we've decided to extend that, for the 6 to 9 months prior to that, because as a president-elect myself, a couple of years ago, I remember going to PELS and feeling as though I was drinking out of a fire hose, and having left saying, "Oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. What did I get myself into?" And our goal by doing these fireside chats is to bring you guys together. We are a team, we're classmates, and to begin having each of you know who's going to be a president with you next year, and maybe develop some relationships that when we get in person in Syracuse, you can continue to develop those. So tonight we've assembled a panel of Rotarians with experience in building strong and thriving Rotary clubs. Our main speaker, Jeff, will begin with a 10 to 15 minute overview, highlighting practical strategies for attracting new members, creating meaningful engagement opportunities, and fostering a culture that encourages members to stay and grow. And then following that, we have 4 panelists who will share real life examples from their own clubs, what's worked, what hasn't, and the lessons that they've learned along the way. And then we'll end the session with Q&A, giving all of you a chance to ask questions, compare experiences, and take away actionable items to strengthen your own clubs. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Jeff Fabany, who's the immediate past president of the Rock City Rotary Club. And then when he's done with his presentation, I'll introduce our panelists. So Jeff, take it away.
Fantastic. Can everybody see the picture on the screen?
Yes.
All right, great. Okay. Now, is it just showing the slideshow, or is it showing the slideshow with the presentation notes? Because I don't, okay. Fantastic. It's working the way I intended to. Thank you for the introduction, Lisa. My name is Jeff Fabany. As she said, I am the immediate past president of Rock City Rotary. I'm still on the board doing the webmaster stuff. I've been on the board for about 5 years now. I've been a member of the club since 2018. So our club has about 30 people in it and a median age of about 30. So I was actually giving a speech about this at the international convention in Calgary this year. So it was very well attended. And I wanted to do a recap of what I talked about there. My speech was, or my presentation was entitled Revitalizing Rotary. and the subject matter that it concerned was engaging the next generation. So, what does that mean? Well, we can start with a little statistic here. So, less than 5%. This is a statistic that describes Rotary. If you want to take a stab at what it means, I'll let you think on it for a second, but less than 5%, so that's 1 in 20. So this is Rotarians worldwide that are under 40 years old. So I want to talk because sorry, this presentation was almost 2 hours with questions and everything in Calgary. So I'm jumping through a lot of stuff. This is a abbreviated presentation, but um, assuming this is something we want to change, let's talk about why we're changing that or how we're going to change that. So we have a great organization with Rotary, and it's filled with a lot of great folks, and we're lacking some representation from younger generations. So how do we get younger generations in here? I would imagine we would start by asking them, what's important to them or understanding, who they are. So as much as I would like this to be a data-driven presentation, it is not. It is very much anecdotal. So I'm speaking a lot about my club and things that have worked for Rock City. I have prospective members come in all the time. Sometimes they join, sometimes they don't, and we talk about things that are important to them. Or at a minimum, we're getting them in the door at least. So I can tell you from my experience what has become a recurring theme for things that are important to people that are my age or around my age. And by the way, I am 35. So that would be community impact, leadership, flexibility, and inclusivity. So uh, for just to go really quickly into each of these points, community impact is something I notice that people want to see the results. Younger generations want to see the results of their efforts firsthand, and they want to know that they made a difference. They want leadership opportunities, and they're ready to contribute now. And they don't want just a title or anything like that, but they want a real voice and change in their community. They want flexibility. I might speak a little bit about the traditional weekly lunch meeting that does work for some clubs. But for our club, a lot of our working professionals don't have time for a lunch meeting. And if we want young professionals to show up, we got to meet them where they're at. So I'll talk a little bit about flexibility and then inclusivity. So by generation and generations coming after me are generations that expect diversity, not just in words, but in people as well, perspectives and practices. They don't want to assimilate to something, they want to belong to something. So with that, I want to touch really quickly on value alignment with Rotary. So Rotary, when I talk about those things, you might be thinking in the back of your mind that, well, Rotary offers all of that. So why aren't we getting younger members to come through as prospectives? Well, that is very true. Rotary does offer all of that. I don't think they're two different things. I don't think we need to change anything about like the mission or purpose or values of Rotary. So you can see in my fancy Venn diagram here. But there's a lot of overlap, and I think the needs of younger generations can be met with Rotary. Um, so we just need to bring that to light and show people how that happens. So with that, in my presentation, I did go into a lot about strategy. I'm going to touch a little bit about strategy right now in the couple of minutes I have. And the one strategy that I think is probably the biggest is going to be outreach. So you want to leverage social media and your website. If I did take a peek at the resources that was shared with incoming president-elects on the Learning Center, and it talked a lot, or at least a little bit about this, about updating your website, having an active presence. You can just imagine your own behavior online. For example, if you're going to go out to dinner and you might go to a restaurant's website or something, and if they have pages from 2013 or 2016, are you really excited to go to that place to eat? Like, if their menu is from 10 years ago, they may very well still be a business and they may very well be a good restaurant, but What are you thinking in the back of your mind before you know you even go there? So other people are thinking about your club when they go to your club's website, when they go to your club's Instagram page. Take pictures. That's very important. At my club at Rock City, we actually have someone that's a designated picture taker at every event. I'll talk more about events, but we specifically call out someone to say, hey, don't forget to take pictures. We need them for the website. We need them for our Eventbrite. We need them for our Instagram. We need them for the newsletter. Somebody's got to be taking pictures. And then it's okay to spend a little bit of money on ads. I won't go into it too much because of the time constraint, but I actually did join because of an ad. So the president in 2018 of Rock City Rotary spent money, his own personal money actually, on Instagram ads, and I responded to that ad. I was on Instagram scrolling, and I actually did not know anything about Rotary. I did not go to Rotaract. I did not grow up in a Rotary household. I knew nothing about it, but I was on Instagram, and he bought an ad, and I saw the ad and I showed up. It's okay to spend a little bit of money on ads. And if you wanted to spend 5, 10, 20 bucks a month on social media ads, that can go a long way. And you know, if it gets you one member a month, I think that's money well spent. The next strategy, really quick, is inclusion here. So there's a couple of ways that we are going to talk about inclusion, and that's flexible meetings and meeting people where they are. Most specifically, this is the lunch meeting. Again, this is very anecdotal. This is what has worked for my club and what I have found people needing when they come to our meetings talking about prospective membership. I understand fully that a lot of people, a lot of clubs do the regular lunch meeting and it's working for them, and that's great. This is just a different way of doing things. Maybe it's something to consider for you. So a lot of our club members are around 30, you know, between 20 and 40. So they're working and they're working full time, and it's very difficult to attend a lunch meeting. You know, some of us are blessed to have remote jobs, that's true. But a lot of us, you know, some of us are nurses, some of us are in the hospital, some of us are own their own practices or whatever, or for whatever reason they're in the office, and it is just not too feasible to meet at a lunch meeting. So our meetings are at the bar, and literally that Three Heads Brewing, where the owner there is very forward thinking in terms of offering up his real estate for volunteer groups and whatnot, and he gives us the back room for free actually. So we meet there monthly at the bar at Three Heads Brewing. And we don't ask people to commit to a dinner. We don't ask people to pay for you know, 4 weeks of dinners or lunches or whatever. There's a food truck outside. If you want to buy yourself a beer, you can. If you want to buy yourself a hot dog or whatever the food truck has, you can. You bring it into the meeting. If you don't want to eat, don't. I most of the times I don't get anything. I'm just there for the meeting, you know. But it's at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, and it's a time slot that we think allows for a lot of inclusivity with people's working lives and schedules. So that's something that we do to meet people where they are, something to consider. Uh, I think there's two more strategies here. So club structure. So I said I was going to talk about events. The way our club works that people really like is that we have, well, technically 3 events a month. We have our club meeting every month, but then we also have one social event a month, and we also have one service event a month. We have a social events chair and we have a service events chair. So those chairs are responsible for putting something on the calendar that is going to be related to their topic. So our service events chair will work with organizations to find a charitable organization or a nonprofit or something where we are going to go out and work with them and do a service event, something like boots on the ground, actually do something like paint, or we've worked with, you know, 490 Farmers, we worked with Flower City Pickers, we've worked with Lollipop Farms to walk dogs, we've worked with Food Link to prepare the farm for the winter. It's a lot of the time it's a bunch of one-off things that they just ask for people to come and do. It is the responsibility of our service events chair to coordinate all of that. And that really touches on, you know, the need that younger generations have to feel an impact like immediately, like what did I just do with my time? So that's where that is really helpful, and it's once a month. And we also have a social events social event once a month. We have a social events chair that, they find something to do. You can see us in this picture here playing bingo, but building community, I read in the preparation materials that was shared with incoming PEs. There was a statistic there that said the number one reason people join is to build a sense of community with others. And what better way to do that than with a social event? We play bingo, we go to trivia, we go to, we just had the event here that the city put on where with they had comedy show and a silent disco, and we said this is what we're going to do. We're going to buy tickets and we're going to go to this event down at the Fringe Fest. And it was just our social events chair is responsible for once a month coordinating that event, making sure we can get as many people there as we can. We'll ask a group, if the time slot works or whatever, if we should adjust something, and we go from there. So that club structure is something that we do with our strategy for our club that seems to be clicking with a lot of younger generations. Um, Empowerment is really important. So you can see me here with the most immediate past district governor. And this was actually our first peace pool we installed in the district. So Anne had actually just asked me out of the blue if I wanted to be part of the district committee for peace polls. And I said, that's fantastic. I would love to do that. I would love to. I was actually thinking I would like to be more involved with district level stuff. What can I do to help? And I did not ask her. She asked me. And that's something that I is valuable to younger generations. People that are coming, some of these people are potentially starting their career. Some of them are 5, 7, 10 years into their careers, and they're looking to do things. When I did this event with Dave and Ann, it was fantastic. The chief of police was there, the mayor was there, the state legislator was there. We all got to talk and take pictures and whatnot. I took pictures for my club. We put it in our newsletter. It was a great event. Something that made me feel really proud and successful for having done. We started this initiative to put peace poles in the district, and here we are. This is like a real life, you can touch it and feel it. Here's what we did thing, and it made an impact. That's a great way to encourage younger generations is to empower them into positions of leadership and have them do real, meaningful, tangible things. Um,
Hey, Jeff, can I
so
interrupt you real quick?
yes,
Just want to put out a request for everybody who's not talking to mute themselves if you can. There's a little bit of background noise. Thank you.
thank you, Lisa. So there was a bit more in the international presentation, but I've cut out a lot for the time constraint. So I just did want to end with this one note here. It says Rotary is not ours to preserve, it's ours to prepare to the future. And I do forget what marketing resource I was reading when I read this quote, but it really stood out to me. And I think, how true, Rotary was before us, but even before everyone on this call, it started 100 years ago. Um, and it's here now. It's going to be after us. It's going to be after me too. We all agree that Rotary is a great organization, or we wouldn't be Rotarians, and we would like it to exist for another 100 years, right? At least. So, it's important that we engage with younger generations and find a meaningful action plan to reach out to them. Because it is true. It's not ours to preserve. It's ours to prepare for the future. So that other people can get in there and serve just like we do. So I did throw a question slide in there, but I don't want to derail your structure here, Lisa. So we can ask questions now, or we can push it for the panel.
Well, yeah, I am unmuted. I wouldn't mind if one or two people have questions, and then we'll toss it to the panelists. We do want this to be interactive. So if someone has a quick question, go ahead and ask it. And if not, keep moving. Okay. So it looks like nobody has a question. Oh,
I
go
do
ahead.
have
Sorry.
a question. I'm sorry.
Yeah, who is? Okay.
You
Go for
said
it.
you use Instagram and you pay for an ad
Yeah.
every month, about $20. Is there any way I can get into your ad and see what we have so I could probably duplicate it for our club?
Yeah, so it is not too difficult to get in there and make an ad. It might be a little in-depth to go over in the call right now. Potentially if you want to reach out to me after this and I could even help you get started. But to answer more broadly for other people is that Instagram allows you, the easiest way you can do this is to boost a post. So Instagram will allow you to boost any post you have. So you don't have to get into like the ad tools or ad creation tools or anything like that to like make an ad or do any graphic design or anything like that. You can just take a picture just like we did with like you see the pictures on the screen here. Something like this is something we would just boost is what it's called. Or what that means is to Instagram will put it in front of more eyes essentially. So instead of how our post would organically appear in people's feeds, it would have more of a stronger presence because we're spending money on it.
One
Uh,
more. Do you think, I don't know if you do this, but I was thinking maybe putting in a Rotary moment by per member once, but one by one, somewhere down the road, each space it out. Would that be a good idea?
I'm sorry to do what exactly?
Rotary moment.
Oh, Rotary moment. Yeah. So
Mhm.
we do we do sometimes do features on Rotarians and talk about who they are and we also, you know, every event we do we post about. So I'm not sure if you're referring to something specific when you say Rotary moment, but we put a lot of Rotary content, of course, on the Instagram and you know, we do talk about or you know what transpired and how that could be, you know, we try to structure it or phrase it in such a way that it is of value to somebody that is prospective or on the outside looking in. All right, Lisa, I think I'll hand it
Ralph,
back
you
to
have a
you.
question.
Yeah,
Ralph has a question, I think.
Thank you.
more of a comment, anything. Jeff, if you could put in chat your contact information, I think that would be very helpful. Some of the things that you're talking about require a little bit more in-depth conversation just for people to understand it. And so that we, you know, Lisa and Pamela can continue on the time frame that they've got. But the things that you're talking about are very, very important. And I think if people could contact you, you could be a great resource for them.
Absolutely. I second that. And thank you, Jeff, for doing that. And as I want to repeat that I want this session to be interactive and I want each of us to learn from one another. So we may not be able to answer all your questions today, but our goal is to connect you to the people that will be able to answer your questions. So Jeff just talked about revitalizing Rotary and engaging the next generation. I would like to turn to, let's see, let's ask Pam. How has your club worked to attract and retain younger members, and what has been effective? And I know I haven't introduced you, so before you answer that question, is if you could do 2 sentences about who you are and why you've been asked to represent today.
I am Pam Baxter from Albany Rotary, and I am CNY District DEI Chair. And I have been a Rotarian for about, I think 20 years now. So question as to attracting younger members. Really to, I guess, echo what Jeff already said, is meeting people where they are. And that is both in place and in purpose. So absolutely, currently Albany Rotaries is preparing to sponsor a companion club because we are a noon meeting club. And that doesn't work for everyone. So timing is a big factor. And also Albany Rotary is a traditional legacy club. And for a lot of people that we were seeing were visiting the club but not joining, we did some work on that and found out that it just wasn't fitting, the club culture just wasn't matching what they were looking for. And so we've always tried to be very conscious of saying, if our club doesn't fit, let's find you a club that does fit. And again, Albany Mosaic is part of the response to that. We are creating a club that offers a completely different vibe than Albany Rotary Club. So
Thank you. And that's something that I don't think many clubs think about when they think about their culture and how they might change or adapt to meet the new needs of their community. So creating a new club or a satellite club or a cause-based club that's a companion to your own club is one way to think about it. I appreciate that. Thank you very much. Katie, you're with the Baldwinsville Rotary Club, and you've been a president for 2 years in a row. Would you like to answer that question as well?
How the question of how we're attracting younger members? Or
Yeah,
new-
and retaining them, not only attracting them, but retaining them.
retaining them. We have had several new members. Last year we had 13 in total. And I think one of our secrets to success is we have a strong membership committee. We have a mentoring committee. They're matched up with somebody. We listen. We had a listening tour start a few years back. And our future president, and board member brought the word grace to us. And that fit in beautifully with what we were trying to do, give each other grace. So thank you, Nicole McManus, for that. And one thing I think a concentration for our younger members is, what can we do for you? What do you need? What would you love to see if your boss calls you in a year? What would you love to have them hear that you're doing for your community? Is there a passion or a hobby that you want to maintain? And that was a beautiful thing. So now our membership has a range of age 20 to 88. We plan look the year in advance as far as we can, with the idea that every member should look back and see themselves in something that is meaningful. And I think that's been our retention. I did hold my breath the second year to see if we were retaining, and we have. So friendships, socializing, super important. We changed our happy hour to an out and about, because again, with an range of 20 to 88 and with listening to members, happy hour doesn't just fit for everyone. Coffee time, and we've started welcoming a new business, so that tied into noticing others in town. So we call it out and about, and you might see us posting something that we're meeting at 10 a.m. or 7 p.m. or 5 p.m. or attending a fundraiser of another nonprofit, welcoming an ice cream store in town, and we're going to one at the end of the month that is a cafe. So welcoming businesses, changing it up, meeting people where they're at. With 66 members, there's always something to do and someone to listen to.
Those are some fantastic ideas. Thank you so much, Katie, for those.
You're welcome.
John French, I know you've had trouble with Spectrum staying on board, staying online, but I want to direct the next question to you. You're a member, not only a member of the Naples Rotary Club, but you're our district's membership chair. In thinking about your experience, what suggestions would you offer to incoming presidents to ensure that new members feel genuinely welcomed and valued from day one?
I would say it starts right from when they walk into the first meeting. Every club should have a greeter, and then they should be announced to the club right from the get-go. And that unfortunately doesn't happen across all clubs. So if that's not part of your club culture, I would strongly encourage that. That, and nobody sits alone. We've all, not necessarily everyone here on the call, has been to other clubs, but I've been to other clubs and watched people sit alone, and it's just rather isolating. So new members feel genuinely welcomed. Well, I guess what we do is we invite them to join in a service activity, because that's where Rotarians are having fun, whether it's stuffing plants into little baggies to give away at Arbor Day, or working at the Naples Grape Festival. It's just, we get people involved.
Perfect. Thank you. Now I'm going to actually turn this next question to the audience. When you think about elements of your own club's culture, what do you think makes people want to stay in your club? And this is open-ended, so if there's anyone that wants to answer that, feel free to chime in. Mr. Ralph.
One of the things when you bring in a new member, the member orientation is probably the most critical thing to establish engagement and then to keep them engaged within the club. That member orientation, if you skimp on that, they're missing out because they don't understand Rotary. You have to understand that when people come in, they don't have that knowledge of what Rotary is all about. They may understand what you've done in your community, but they don't understand Rotary. So taking the time and establishing a good orientation for new members is the most critical factor for retention, because you set the stage, you find out what their passion is, you get them involved in the club. That is critical. Rochester Southwest, Lisa's club, and I know Erica was just at one that Jack Best was doing for orientation for their newer members. Fantastic job. He's continuing it on more than one night of orientation, and that is great because those people are going to come out. They're going to understand the club. They're going to understand what they do, and they're going to have a knowledge of Rotary in general. Most of us, it takes years. I know for myself, I don't think I became a true Rotarian for 14 years, and I've been in for 34 right now. So it takes time to really grasp and understand what's going on. But to get them involved with your club, please spend time on orientation. It is critical.
That's a very, very good reminder. Thank you so much, Ralph. So my next question is more about retention and engagement. Jeff, I'm going to ask you to answer this question. What is one specific strategy that Rock City has used to keep members engaged beyond their first year?
So beyond our first, so we don't measure specifically for a year to reach out after a year, but to talk about retention in general is we have our social events and we use that as is our really big tool to kind of make sure people are having fun, because when we believe when people are having fun, that's when they want to stick around, and that's when they want to keep being friends with other people. They want to keep going to service events and doing things that really make a bigger impact in the community. So if we haven't seen someone in a while, or we or someone hasn't volunteered an idea in a while for like a social event or something, in our board meetings, which we have once a month with the board, we will bring that up and we will say, who do we need to have a touch point with? And we make it an explicit point, like not something that we talk about like ethically or something. We make an explicit point to say, Joe, you will text, so and so, and you will ask them, the last time you spoke with them, you were talking about whatever. Follow up with that conversation and said, hey, you know, um, are you going to come to the next social event? What are you expecting for social events? And, those types of conversations, when we reach out one on one like that, have changed the trajectory of what we're planning to do sometimes. It has changed the events that we're putting on. So we've done events before that were just out of the blue. The one that comes to mind is when we decorated the Isaiah House for Christmas last year, which I think we're going to do again because it became such a hit with the club members. Is that we asked someone, what do you want to see? And then she had mentioned that she had worked with Isaiah House before after seeing them in a news article or something. And our service events chair reached out and said, and they just came up with the event. Like they weren't asking for volunteers or anything, but they said, well, you can come decorate for Christmas. It's so much work. And so we said, okay. And so what ended up happening is this person really enjoyed the event. And I don't have any metrics on whether they were planning to leave or anything, and if we convinced them to stay, but that's definitely, how we try to retain members is by personally reaching out and having a touch point and getting their input and feedback.
Thanks, Jeff. And that reminds me, I've heard somewhere before that membership is a contact sport, meaning you have to have personal contact with your members to make sure that they're happy and being fulfilled being a member of your Rotary Club.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, and I mean, that's true. You've got to call, you've got to FaceTime, you've got to have tea with them. Emails
Yeah,
and
yeah.
text messages just won't cut it for everybody. I'm going to actually turn the next question to my colleague Pamela rather. Whoops. um, how do you recognize when a member might be drifting away, and what steps might you take to reconnect, to reengage them?
Thank you for asking. I'd love to tell you.
Okay.
When people were, sorry, my voice is going to work. When people were talking, a story came to mind that I just recently was made aware of. A few years ago, I just was really friendly with this one member of our club, and we needed somebody to do something, and I know she's busy, she's so sharp, she's so busy, and she won't want to do it. But just out of the blue, I just asked her, and I said, do you mind doing this? I think you'd be great at it. Just think about it. You don't have to say anything right now. And then, sorry, she stepped up and started doing stuff and doing other stuff. And just recently, like 2 weeks ago, she said to me, when you asked me, I was thinking about leaving Rotary because I didn't feel connected. She said, but when you asked me, I felt valued and I felt like I had something to give, and it re-engaged me. And ever since then, again, we've gotten closer, and she's been, leaps and bounds and really getting involved. But don't be afraid to ask people. I mean, you could always assume they're too busy, because usually it's the busy people, right? That's what we attract, is busy people, the 80-20 rule. But if you see the benefit and their skill set, and you want to engage them and continue to engage them, ask. It can't hurt. The worst scenarios, they say no, and then you ask another time.
Mm-hmm.
But that really hit me because I didn't think anything of it, and I haven't since that was like 2-3 years ago, maybe. I didn't think anything of it. I didn't know the gravity of what it meant for her, and how it changed her trajectory and her relationship with Rotary. And I was kind of touched by that. So I just wanted to share that, because I think that has a lot to do with retention, is, pulling people in and making sure that they are feeling included, and that they're using their skills and giving them energy as opposed to sucking it. Most of the things we do in our life, like work and things like that, that sucks our energy sometimes if we're not happy. But as being Rotarians, we need to give energy, and that ignites us and gives us more energy. So I just wanted to share that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pamela. It's a really thoughtful and powerful story. You had mentioned inclusion, and I'm going to turn my next question to Pam Baxter. What approaches have you found effective in reaching people who wouldn't normally see themselves as Rotarians?
Again, I guess meeting people where they're at, but trying to dispel the myth of what Rotary is. We all have a perception of what our grandfather's Rotary is. So trying to change that. And personally, when I go to speak to a club or speak even at district events, you will almost always see me in jeans. And there's a reason for that. When I joined Rotary, I was a union electrician. My business casual was jeans and work boots, but I never ever felt comfortable at a Rotary event because you couldn't wear that to a Rotary event when I joined Rotary. That, you know, you didn't wear jeans to Rotary. But that doesn't change who I am, doesn't change what I bring to the table just because I look differently. So that's a way that I consciously do that. And I pointed out that I'm in jeans because of this, because it doesn't matter what I look like. It doesn't matter what I do for a job. It doesn't matter, you know, what clothing I wear or where I live or any of those things. If you're a Rotarian, you're a Rotarian inside. So,
Wow, now you make me cry. That's really
so
nice.
I always said as a kid, and my mother will attest to this, I always pushed the envelope. I never fit in the box. And I think that's a big part of what we need to do is we need to take that box and throw it the hell away and have fun. This, you know, as Jeff said, Pamela said, you know, we're building relationships, we're building communities. And so if you want to diversify your club, you need to go into the communities that you're missing. Not ask them in, and inviting them in is fine. But the reality is you need to go into the communities that you want to become a part of. So that's my and that's and very honestly, and that is where Mosaic was born from, quite honestly. We are specifically approaching communities that are BIPOC communities, LGBTQIA plus, inner city residents, inner city businesses. We are going into the community. We are building a Rotary Club from those communities. It's their club.
Wow, that's fascinating. I can't wait to hear how it goes and lessons learned. On a related note, I think I'm going to toss this to Katie, but you know, Pam, if you want to weigh in as well. What role does meeting format, traditions, or even language play in shaping inclusivity?
Ooh, good one. Good one. And again, I think this is great. It's been a wonderful experience for me because with the age difference that we have, what it comes down to is noticing the people in the room. And you as a president will know things and see things not everyone will notice and see. So, but you are to notice everybody in the room. And the survey that what they talked about, I did that before the presidency. Great idea. Listen. The template, I do bring a template to a meeting. I do follow that. You know, I call it tight but loose is a term that I use. So there's a format, but yet it's relaxed. I'll call on different people to introduce different things and say different things. And I try to engage it so that they're not listening to just me or just the speaker. They have a moment. That said, when we did a survey for our meetings, they too didn't, some did want to meet every week for lunch. We stopped that. We're bi-weekly now, first and third weeks for lunch. We also have an evening meeting. Baldwinsville has had both for some time. I was able to join in the evening while I worked. As president, I think it was the first time I went to a noon meeting. I was like, nice to meet you all, you know? I'd seen faces I only saw at our biggest events. But that said, I also had the pleasure of sitting down with Jeff as a first-time president. One of the first people I met is sitting in the lobby at PELS and listening to their goals as Rock City. And I thought, that's it. That's it. We're going to have some of our meetings will be out and about. Some of our meetings will be learning about learning in another atmosphere. A lot of our business leaders do not have the time to come in and just talk to 10 people. Let's go to them. So when we plan our programs far out and we look, we're in-house, we're out-house, what area of focus has been covered. I mean, it's kind of like a chess game, but again, it's checking off, where have we been? Where are we going? Is everybody getting something out of it? I don't know if I explained that well enough, but it's tight but loose. Yes, there's a program. Yes, there's respect to Rotary in all aspects, but it's noticing people and nothing, and it's keeping people engaged. Are there members that just want lunch? Yeah, they're 80 years old.
Right, this is their social event.
Bouncing around town in the winter months is not easy, and we are here on the backs of these members. So, you know, Pam, I love the idea of moving forward and let's break, you know, throw away the box. I'm more about let's bridge to the box. We have to keep remembering we are here on the backs of other people. We are here on the no jeans era. Do we want to stay there? No, but we don't want to forget the stories that they brought us and the way we were. So there's stories about your club that I think you need to preserve and let those, because they live in the memory of somebody watching you in front of your club.
Hmm.
So as a leader, you will look out and you will see all ages, and you need to see your veteran members, our experiences, their stories. They've reinvented themselves so many times, and be gentle with them. Be gentle, because as you and should tweak, engage, get a little better with everything you do every year, every month, be gentle. But keep moving forward. Pam's absolutely, and everybody's absolutely right about that.
Oh my gosh, this is great.
If I can just jump on Katie's back there,
Perfect, yes.
and I agree 100%. When I say throw away the box, I guess that's just for right now, but Albany Mosaic, our number one focus was we do not want to detach from Albany Rotary. They are a legacy club. They have been there since 1913. They are time honored in traditions. And that was one of the things in our proposal for a new club, that they commented how strongly we brought that forward, that was a big priority for us.
I
We
love
don't
it.
we don't want to break apart. We want to honor what they have, and we
And
want to
bridge it.
right. We want to
Right.
bridge it, and we want to help build it back up.
That's why it's going to be wildly successful, Pam.
Yep. So 100%. We have an amazing history. And there's a lot of things that some of those traditions are fun. Like a lot of clubs don't do happy dollars anymore. I happen to love those. I was at Disco Una the other day. They still do those. I was so excited. So there are a lot of different games and traditions and things that, yes, absolutely hang on to and honor those and understand that they are what brought us here. And I also just want to touch on honoring when we're talking about cultural differences and awareness, celebrating. I am a person who loves culture. Teach me about your culture. Every culture that I know of celebrates with food, with music. What a great way to learn about someone else.
Talk about bridging, right?
Yes, utilize your differences to learn about each other, to celebrate together. What a great way, because honestly, I don't know a Rotarian who doesn't like to eat or drink.
Well, Pam, do you
Yeah.
remember you helped me with the drink too? We were
Yes.
for charter night. Pam happened to be coming to our club and doing a DEI presentation. And afterwards I said, and she stayed at my house, and I said, there's just one thing I got to do after the meeting. I want to come up with a Rotary drink, a signature drink for our charter night. Will you sit with me and test a few? And so we sat there, and it was hard work, but we did. And then afterwards she said, Kate, you really should have a non-alcoholic Rotary drink. That's DEI as well. I'm like, huh, you're right. Well, we did come up with one. And when we served at charter night, they were great. But our Friendsgiving on a Tuesday night, it was the biggest. Most people, they're not going to, the non-alcoholic drink was, it was the biggest thing because it was 4 to 7 o'clock. They wanted to network. So Pam, that was another one. Yes, it was bridging and learning and tweaking. As president, I couldn't throw away traditions and everything I wanted to do. It's gently moving forward.
Love it.
Uh,
Love it.
But
love
yeah, if you need a signature cocktail, Pam and I can help you out there for.
it. Oh my God, that's
Question, if I
amazing.
may.
Yes.
We, our club has a very strong foundation, and the leadership in our club is aged. Okay. And so there's been, their success in recruiting as increasing membership has been nil. So I'm getting a lot of ideas of things we can do, but transitioning into things like trivia night or uh, one evening meeting and so forth, I think I'm going to have to tread very slowly in order to not jump on all these things as much as I'd like to. But I need to hold back and pull my own reins. But did you find anyone find that difficult? Same predicament. They're very conservative people, by the way. So, but I'd like to hear some comment about that if anybody's available.
Right. Open-ended. Anyone want to reply?
We have an older group also. We have about 45 members in the Pittsford Rotary. I'd say the average age is probably 60. And we used to have a fellowship Friday that worked for a while, but then it seemed to go away. It was going to a bar or someplace like that on a Friday night, and gradually people lost interest. I could bring up another point is that sometimes I feel like we try to do too much. When I was listening to Jeff, he talked about 3 things a month. Well, we had 4 or 5 things in one weekend in September.
Mm,
I think it can be a daunting task for our members, and I don't know that sometimes I wonder whether we have to scale back a little bit. We do have fundraisers that I didn't hear Jeff mention, 3 major ones. But we have service, and then we're asked to attend something for the Y. They had a canal celebration, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't know how we deal with that. I'd also be going against the grain to try to calm things down a little bit. We meet every week, by the way, too. So those are sometimes, again, I wonder if we're trying to accomplish too much.
mhm,
So
mhm.
I want to piggyback on that thought there. So we do have a fundraising chair, Simon Devonish, actually, if you're familiar with him. Um, and we, I that's a lot. Five events in one weekend. So something, obviously my presentation is very abbreviated. It was not all
Sure.
inclusive of everything that I think is important about.
Well, 5 in a week was unusual, but we regularly have 6 or 7 things a month at least. So,
Yeah, so
and
so
then
my
meetings too.
So my point would still stand is that I also think it's important to have, breathing room as well. People have stuff going on besides Rotary, especially, I'm a single guy I'm not married and I have no kids or anything, and my life gets busy, and we have a member right now that's pregnant. We have 2 different members with infants. We have other members with just children, and I look at them and I say, how are you even here at Rotary? Like what? How? Because my life is the way it is. So it's a balance. Some people thrive on that type of energy, and just the calendar is full with everything, and that's great. It sounds like everyone's being a little level-headed here in approaching with some reservation and caution and how to apply changes, and I think that's great. So as you're going through that, I just again anecdotal piece of evidence from me is that breathing room is important. If I had to attend 5 or 6 events a month, I wouldn't be able to do it. I just couldn't do it.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Jerry, I would also say that setting expectations is important. If you have 5 events on a weekend, are you expecting every member to show up at every event? I hope
No,
not.
no, that's not the case, but that's still quite a drain on the club. We
Right,
have
but
a
if,
situation where we have a fundraiser coming on election day, but we have a meeting tonight that I can't make, that we have another fundraiser in March that they're already kicking off.
depending on,
It
right,
seems like, I don't know, it seems
yeah.
like it's almost too much sometimes.
Exactly. And you got the ability to change that coming in as president, or at least explain why you have 5 events on one weekend. Each event may only require 2 members to be at, which
Right.
is
That's,
fine.
yes,
But then, prioritize what are the ones that we really want, an all out push from everybody.
sure.
Anybody else want to weigh in on any of these questions?
A quick thing, Lisa, I want to throw out is with common comments here is I think for everything is having a strong structure is really important. Having your leadership all be on the same page and working together, having, a planning meeting so that doing a lot isn't as difficult to handle when you know that you have all these things coming up. It's when, oh, hey, this is happening next week, and this is happening next week, and this is happening next week, and we want to be a part of all of it. And suddenly it gets dropped on you. And I think, so planning things out, making sure people are aware of what the calendar is so that they can work, their schedules, and having the conversations within your club to say, here are the events coming up, whether you do it on a month, looking out a month, 6 months, a year. What is it that is important to us? What's the level of participation we can do, and what can we commit to? Because if you're committing to it, you want to be able to follow through, but you also don't want to exhaust your membership. So that's really a conversation, and it's about structure and planning. And as much as I'm an out of the box person, I'm a huge planner, because I believe that if you plan everything you can on the day of the event, things are going to fall apart and go crazy. They're, Murphy's Law. So if you've planned what you can, you're able to handle that. But I think that's the same thing with a club, is plan. And then, when somebody's kid is sick and they suddenly can't make it, well, you've got other people to back up or whatever.
Exactly. John, do I see your hand up?
Yeah. I guess it also, going off of what Pam was just saying, it boils down to communication, and communicate to your entire club, not just the leadership faction, but communicate using a variety of different media, whether it's a weekly newsletter, whether it's the calendar, but communicate to the membership, including those that are not present at the meetings, as to what is coming down the pike where they could get involved. Because you lose Rotarians when they're not getting out of their membership what they were hoping to.
Right.
And how can they get out of their membership what they were hoping to if they don't know all of the opportunities?
Very, very good point. Absolutely. Any other questions that the president-elects might have, or things that you may not have, that we may not have covered tonight that you thought you might get out of this session? Now's the time to ask or to comment. Okay. Looks like we've got a quiet crew here. So since we're coming up on 8 o'clock, not 7 o'clock, I'm going to do one last question for each of the panelists. And it's a pretty basic question, is if you had to give one piece of advice to a new club president about retention of membership, what would it be? Let us start with, who am I not? Let's go ahead with John. John, why don't you handle that one first?
All right. I would say have fun with it. Have fun with being the president, and don't be afraid to try change, and make your gatherings, whatever they are, be fun, and respect the time that you're asking your members to donate to Rotary.
Perfect. Pam, how about you?
Provide ownership. One of the first things that I ask someone when they come in Rotary is, what is your cause? What is your passion? Bring it to Rotary. Give them the opportunity to bring what excites them and excite you.
Love it. my buddy Pamela, do you want to add something?
Yes, I put it in the chat because you know how I feel.
Oh,
Build a culture of kindness, because I think if we're starting from there, it can only go up.
perfect. Katie.
Okay. I just want to say all of the above.
Okay, that's
Like
fair.
option D. I can't tell you enough. Stay tight but loose. Plan far out. Plan well. Some things need to be, like Pam said, predictable and seen. But be loose, be flexible. Have co-chairs. Some people, remember your members. Some are there to socialize. Some are there for their mental health, showing up. So another term we use is minutes matter. For some people, it's just minutes of Rotary they need. Some people are there to volunteer, and some people are there to run with their resume and do something, right in town, or it's just a hobby. And some people are just Rotary everything. So as president, you may feel like you don't have it all together sometimes, but
And that's okay.
together you have it all. Somewhere in your club, there's an innovative way to do things. And another little piece is, if something gets added to the club roster, or not roster, club
Agenda.
event menu or to-do list, take something off if you can. Let it go. Let it go. Just like books in a classroom or something. Let it go. When something gets better, what can it replace? And if you don't have a chairperson for something,
Ask.
you don't have to do it. You say to
Right.
your group, the answer's in the room. Should we let this go, or is there another way to do it? Let's talk about it. Tight but loose, minutes matter.
And the other thing playing upon that is no is a 2-letter word. You don't
Yeah.
have to feel guilty for saying no,
Yeah.
not right now, maybe later. But protect everybody, every member's mental health and time and energy. It is okay to say no. So with that, I want to thank all of our oh, Jeff, no, I didn't have a chance to have you give your final word. Sorry, Jeff, what one piece of advice would you give new
Sure.
presidents?
So my piece of advice would be to just be authentic. So as you're approaching people, don't treat people like a statistic, or you got to do it because you're the president and you got to look good and pressure's on your shoulders. Just be authentic. Be happy that new people are coming through. And when you're genuine like that, I think you will be more convincing than you believe you are, you realize, and I think that's important.
Very, very, very good. Last call. Do any of our presidents or area reps or assistant governors want to add anything to this? Okay, by the time March rolls around, you guys are all going to be good buddies and talking up a storm. So I'll give you a pass for tonight. So I want to thank all of our panelists and Jeff, the presenter, for taking time out to share their knowledge with us. Keep in mind that we don't have all the answers. The point of these fireside chats are to give you things to think about, ideas to take away, things to ask your club about whether or not they might work in your club, and then come back next month and repeat it on a different topic, with the goal being that by the time you're president come July 1st, you feel empowered to make some changes, to step into that podium, to grab that gavel and go ahead without, like I said, feeling as though you've just drunk from a fire hose. So keep attending these sessions, keep looking at the Learning Center, the classes that we've assigned in the Learning Center. If you have difficulty signing in the Learning Center, which we're finding that some people do, reach out to either Pamela or myself, and we will either work with you or put you in touch with someone that can hopefully get you connected to the Learning Center and the classes that we've selected for president-elects. Do what you can. You can't do any of them. That's fine. We're just trying to give you the tools that we feel would be useful to presidents coming in. Tassie, did I see you raise your hand, or are you just clicking your computer?
No, I didn't raise my hand.
Okay, I just saw something wave. So up on the screen is a QR code for a feedback survey. And because we're changing things up so much this year, we'd love to hear your feedback on, this particular sessions. Give us ideas for next go round. And if you have questions that you were, I don't know, too shy to ask tonight, put those in the survey and we'll try to get those answered as well. And then our next session is November 12th and 13th. Yes, 12th and 13th. And you'll be getting information on that within the next couple of days. Hopefully you enjoyed tonight enough that you want to come back and learn about leadership strategies and succession planning. So on that happy note, I'm going to say farewell to everybody.